Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sohum and I'm on a mission to spread peace, love, and positivity through music. Today I'll be reacting to Barnaby Turner's Drowning in the Blue. And if you guys don't know who Barnaby is, he's actually a subscriber of mine, which is super amazing that subscribers of mine are not only listening to music like I do nonstop, but also creating music themselves. So Barnaby requested that I review his track Drowning in the Blue, so we'll be doing that today. And if you ever happen to see Barnaby in and around my comment section, say hi, go to his channel, show him some love, hit that subscribe button, all of that good stuff. We're all about building this community over here. So yeah, after I do the initial reaction, then we'll be doing a kind of review of the track and then deep diving into the lyrics. So I hope you all enjoy. And yeah, let's check this out, Barnaby. Let's go. This is a really pretty album cover. Oh, I like this. I like this acoustic melody. Strangely dark.
There's a trail of blood in water behind a huge white yacht.
Oh my god, immediately I'm thinking of season 1 True Detective's theme song. Take a listen to that.
In water behind a huge white yacht, poison spilling out while men on deck take shots. They laugh and joke and smile while counting off their stocks.
Did I hear that right? There's like a stutter step almost in the acoustic melody. I'll see if I can point it out.
They laugh and joke and smile while counting off
right
their
there.
stocks.
Right before you say counting off their stocks, there's like a da-da-da. I don't know if that's intentional.
While counting off their stocks, their power plants and prices have lined their pockets good.
Whoa. Whoa, is that an accordion or harmonica? That's cool.
On land there's
And I like that you've been able to like take this acoustic melody all the way through, just looping it, because it's a very pleasant melody.
On land there stands a chimney with a plume of deep grey smoke, but scorched by its furnace, while those at work all choke.
Oh, that section, again, I'm hearing maybe, I don't know if this is like in your headphones you can hear this, but it feels like there's like a bit of like a stutter stepping. It could be maybe like a glitch in the mix or the way it's produced. I'm just trying to understand if I'm hearing that correctly.
By its furnace, while those at work all choke.
Because it may be intentional. If it is intentional, then I would recommend making those notes stand out even more, because right now it feels like those notes aren't being played with as much confidence as the overall acoustic melody. Because it's interesting. It's not bad inherently, but because I can't tell if it's intentional, it's confusing to me.
John goes back home from work to see his 2 children. There's no food on the table and the lights are out again.
You have a very smooth voice. Whoa. Is that a trumpet? And I like the layering. We've been building everything so far.
This TV tells of people out there in their boats. We can't afford to have them. The system just can't cope.
There's a little bit of dissonance in there, and again, I'm not able to tell if it's an intentional dissonance or it's just like some artifact of the way that this is produced, because if it is intentional, that is a super smart choice. and I wish I could hear it more well defined in the listen. Also, something that I just kind of thought about is that I don't think I've like necessarily heard a vocal chorus here. Not that you need one. It seems like all of the added instruments have made up each chorus, presumably. So if that's the case, then I would almost encourage you to make those instruments that are being added, like the harmonica in the first chorus, and then the trumpet in the second chorus, in addition to the harmonica, stand out even more. Like make those moments really pop, because we're not expecting them. Maybe we're gonna get like a saxophone next, you know?
Details of people out there in their boats. We can't afford to have them. The system just can't cope.
It could be a dissonant note.
Million.
What I was referring to earlier is that I could be hearing a dissonant note, or it could be just like an interesting like overtone. Look for moments like that where you're hearing your acoustic melody and you can just like add an extra note that like changes the overall coloring. I believe in like music theory, it's called, oh god, like if you have a 1-3-5 major chord and you add a seventh, it's now the major 7. Voicings. Look for different opportunities for chord voicings that would potentially add intrigue to your track.
They won't say it's millionaires who win in place of you. It's those on the horizon drowning in the blue.
I like this though. Oh, it's bigger now. And there's like a crowd. I hear someone talking in the background. This is a really cool section. The trumpet almost sounds like a string instrument there. Is that a drumstick I hear? I really like the atmosphere this song creates. That sounds like a drumstick. Okay. Drowning in the Blue by Barnaby Turner. That was really cool, Barnaby. Gotta say, please, if you guys are watching up until this point, hit subscribe on Barnaby's channel. I'll link it down below. I really like this song. There's a lot there's a lot of good in this track, and I gave a lot of like minor points that could, you know, potentially add more. Take those all with a grain of salt, because I have my own creative and artistic visions when it comes to music, and not all of them will jive as well with you. And you know, if I had anything bad to say, I would say it earnestly as well, but I don't. I really like this one. I think the vocal melody itself was probably the most monotonous section of your song, and granted it wasn't a section, it was like the through line throughout this track. So a question that I would also pose to you, and you can take it kind of maybe like more rhetorically, is does this song deserve or need more vocal variation or dynamics in your delivery? Because you don't have to change the melody per se, you can change your delivery. Or does the song maybe warrant a part 2 or a vocal dynamic switch up or melody switch up? Those are all questions that I'm sure you may have asked yourself subconsciously, but you know, ask those questions to yourself again, because when I hear music like this, I feel like you are setting the expectation for more work to come. It's almost like this would be a sort of, again, I think of like that season 1 True Detective show, their theme song. It feels like this would intro the episode, intro the album, and there's more dynamic potentially to come. And man, I really think the decision to add the harmonica and the trumpet super smart. It adds all of that emotional richness that you may have been lacking in the monotonic, or monotonic in the sense that it's more repeated delivery vocally. So if you want to say to me, Sohum, hey, the vocal melody is actually meant to be more stagnant versus the instruments that are creating that dynamics, then I hear that point as well. That's why I say it's just something to consider. Really interesting stuff. I would definitely listen to this again. And the final point I'll bring up before we jump into the lyrics is about the production itself. I think I noticed throughout the track clipping here and there. So that means like your audio levels are very, I guess, subtly noticeable, but they are noticeable, where you hear the audio clip cut off and, you know, come into it. It's not really my place to say exactly how to improve that, because I myself struggle with like clipping and different audio levels and like merging MP3 tracks together and all this nonsense. But there are moments where I notice that that's taking place. So when I'm hearing like melodic and rhythmic differences in the acoustic guitar section, as I said, I was unaware if those choices are intentional or if they're just an artifact of the mix. So yeah, those are my comments. I hope you get something away, take something away from that, Barnaby, and leave some feedback too in the comments down below for Barnaby, guys. This is a place where we can all grow together, push each other, and improve ourselves. Anything really. This is a safe space. So with that said, I want to now dive into the lyrics here. Let me pull them up now for us. Here we go. Hopefully we all see it. There's a trail of blood and water behind a huge white yacht. That is that is a jarring image right there, and I understand exactly what you're getting at when you say this. Poison spilling out whilst men on decks take shots. Kind of framing it as like there's this like bourgeois class. There's a... Oh, let me increase the size of my face over here. There we go. There's this like bourgeois class, and they're leaving destruction behind, and they don't care how their actions affect others, their contamination of the waters. They'll leave the trail of blood behind. That's fine. So that's very clear. I like the simplicity in those lyrics as well. They stand out. They laugh and joke and smile whilst counting off their stocks. Their power plants and prices have lined their pockets good. Okay. I think that is more of a let's say restatement of what the let's say idea in the first paragraph there. On land there stands a chimney with a plume of deep gray smoke, birds scorched by its furnace, whilst those at work all choke. Okay, so again, I think this idea of like the higher class creating environments that are not safe for, let's say, the birds in above, soaring above the factories, and then the people working at those factories as well, all suffering. John goes back home from work to see his two children. There's no food at the table and the lights are out again. Okay, so now shifting the framing from the rich and what they're doing to how it affects those who are suffering, unable to afford the food. His TV tells of people out there in their boats. We can't afford to have them. The system just can't cope. His TV tells of people out there in their boats. They're saying we can't afford to have them, so we're referring to him. The system just can't cope. Wow, that's like a super, super ironic statement. They won't say it's millionaires who win in place of you. It's those on the horizon drowning in the blue. Am I misunderstanding something? They won't say it's millionaires who win in place of you. So they won't like make it readily apparent the hierarchy. It's those on the horizon drowning in the blue. It's those who are winning. It's those who are being left behind, who are drowning in the blue. That's more of what I assume. Maybe it's my inability to interpret this one here, but I think some clarity on those would be nice. And it seems like, yeah, the idea here overall is that there are rich people, there are people who are in classes above that they will do whatever it takes to get what they want at the cost of others and their suffering, and then pin it on them despite causing all of the issues themselves. When you have kind of a meaning like this with, I think, no repetition, the song comes across more as like just like a full-on story. And because there's the reference in the beginning to the trail of blood in the water and the description of what they're doing, but then we deviate away from the water and then in the end return to the water, I feel like you can almost fix more of your analogies here in the middle on water, on describing why they are drowning, on describing what the drowning actually means, what is the blue. I feel like because the name of the song is Drowning in the Blue, you can maybe dive deeper, to make the pun, in that, like, I guess, thematic vein, if that makes sense to you. The way I think about it is you can reference the blue, the water, the drowning, maybe several times over. They don't have to be repeated lines per se, but the fact that they're drowning in the blue, this is like a very poetic and profound statement. And I would love to see it either like replicated elsewhere or more unique ways to describe this idea that leads to the climax of Drowning in the Blue. Because once you deliver that Drowning in the Blue line, it is, I think, the through line to your entire song. So almost imagine Drowning in the Blue as the crescendo point that you want to create, that you want to reach and leave the listener satisfied and live with this feeling of like catharsis. Because Drowning in the Blue, man, that's deep, let me tell you. There was a song I reacted to on this channel a while ago called The Bluest Blues. And that song, they repeated Bluest Blues several times. And granted, it's a different genre. You may be going for something different here. But I think even in these first two paragraphs, I kind of already understand the idea that there are people lining their pockets. They're doing things in spite of others. These are bad people, and they need to, be aired out. I think what makes more sense is to focus on the people suffering, paint their plight more vividly, and maybe the way to do that thematically is through this idea of the blue, of the ocean, of the water. That's just an idea, though. I don't know if you'll take those suggestions, or you don't even really have to. This is kind of just what I'm spitballing here, and the first thing that comes to my mind. I hope you got something out of my review and analysis. All of that aside, I really appreciate your efforts here and enjoy this song a lot. I think you have a lot of good pieces, and they actually do come together well. I would say if I had to put a percentage on it, this song is at like the 82 to 85% mark in terms of its completion and like completeness. There's a few other like smaller moments that, if addressed, I think will send it over the edge. Either way, guys, I really enjoyed this one. Thank you, Barnaby, for the request and the review. Yeah, this is cool. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.